And hello, welcome to the show. It is Sunday, February 7th, 2021. Welcome back to the show. It's Super Bowl Sunday, Zach.
I've heard.
Which you will not be participating in, will you?
Eh.
Um, Super Bowl 2021. Oh, I'm sorry. We can't say Super Bowl. We have to say the big game.
Oh, okay. Whatever.
Because, copyright infringement. Actually, I've always found that to be very, like, okay, everyone knows it as the Super Bowl, right? I'm not really worried about copyright infringement, right?
Well, we're not trying to say that we own the rights to the Super Bowl trademarks or anything. We're just saying that's what's happening today.
Right. And
I don't
the
understand.
funny part is like, so when I worked in radio, I was told I couldn't say Super Bowl on the air. I was told I had to say the big game.
That's dumb, but all right.
Exactly. Hold on. Supposedly. Oh, I don't even know what time the game is, like, kickoff. Let's see. I actually do intend to have it on. Mostly just to have in the background, and also because this year it is on CBS. So I'm revealing something that I haven't revealed probably in, at least in person, or like actually come out and physically said ever. So I used to work for a TV station, right? And there's only like one TV station in my area, so if you really wanted to figure it out, you could. I've given enough clues that, like, in the past, right? I'm going to give you another big clue here. It's a CBS affiliate. That's what it is. It's a CBS affiliate. I don't technically work there anymore, so I feel comfortable with saying that. But it's a CBS affiliate. This year, the Super Bowl is on CBS. And one of my buddies is in master control today, and he will be responsible. He's there now. He is responsible for making sure that everything, all the commercials, everything that's going out over air is correct. So, like, if there's one day not to screw up your job, today is that day.
Wow.
It is so important to the station because there's a lot of revenue in here, right? So they got the master control operator, the program director is going to be there, and they have an engineer on standby as well. So they're all going to be up there in master control today in case something goes wrong. So just to give you some perspective of what's happening, and for the reason that it is on CBS, that is part of the only reason why I actually want to have it on, so that if something actually, goes down, I can watch it. Am I a horrible person?
Mm-hmm. Not really.
So I was actually talking with my buddy last night. He texted me. He's working on a CCNA, and he's wanting to get into like Linux and stuff like that. So he's like, what's the best way to? And he's got some IT background, but definitely not as much as I do. And so he's like, what's the best way to get into Linux? And I, rather than texting him back, I just called him. And so anyway, what I told him was on the phone, I was like, well, the best way to probably get into Linux is to actually play with Linux in a virtual machine. And so anyway, we talked about that. But as we were talking, he was like, whoa, a break just ran when it wasn't supposed to run. So I don't know if, and this is a new thing now that they have, and it's been a thing in radio for years. It's been a thing in other TV stations for years too, where the network can send a tone down and it automatically triggers the local breaks to roll. That didn't used to be a thing when I was there. We actually had to physically watch the shows, like what was on air, and then wait for a specific cue. And after the end of that, we would actually have to manually roll the local break. So it meant you had to pay attention. I mean, you still have to pay attention now, but it rolls automatically. And so anyway, I don't know if the software decided that I just wanted to roll the break randomly early, or if somebody at CBS screwed a bunch of stations over by sending the cue down when they weren't supposed to. But yeah, so the break started rolling, and I was like, I'm gonna call the program director. So I calls the program director last night, and program director doesn't answer, and I just was like, well, okay, what do you have in the break? And he's like, yeah, it's mostly just promos and unpaid stuff. I was like, okay, how? And he was looking at it, he's like, well, the break is overfilled though. I was like, well, how much is overfilled? He's like, 30 seconds. I was like, I'll just drop 30 seconds out of it. And YOLO. It ended up working out over air, but anyway. So that's why I say, I mean, you still got to pay attention, but anyway. But yeah, you know, I used to do that job, but it's fun to see when things don't go right on air because I know what cannot go right. And the fact that, again, it's the biggest game of the year, which I actually do have on the side of me here. You just can't see it. So if you see me looking over at some point, that's what's happening. Anyway, yeah. So, but yeah, let's talk about this real quick. Tom frickin' Brady has gone back to the Super Bowl a frickin' again. Goodness gracious, dude, give it up. Like, you know how many people are actually sick of seeing Tom Brady in Super Bowls?
I don't know. No, I don't know.
Quite a few.
That's so.
I don't know how many Super Bowls Tom Brady's been in, but it's been a lot. How many Super Bowls has Tom Brady won? 5! 5!
Quite a few.
He is the first quarterback in NFL history to win 5 Super Bowls. Yeah, needless to say, people are sick of seeing him in the Super Bowls. Like, seriously, give somebody else a chance. So, with that said, Zach, I've got something very exciting in the works.
That's so?
Mm-hmm.
Wow. Tell me more.
You'll like this.
Will I?
Yeah. I am...
Very cool.
Hopefully in a month or so, I will be deploying a virtualization server.
Nice.
Total cost? Probably under $450.
That seems reasonable.
Yeah. Now, the question is, how am I accomplishing this, right?
Well, I mean, you got lots of hardware laying around. I don't know. I guess I don't know what you got.
Okay. Virtualization server, though, which needs some power. Needs some resources.
It does.
Let me put it this way. Here's what I intend to run on my virtualization server, okay? Couple distributions of Linux. So one will be I'll probably run Fedora, at least on one of them, just because I'm familiar with Fedora. So I'll run an instance of Fedora with MySQL and Apache installed on it. And that'll be a web server. And then just general tinkering around. I intend to launch another Linux system, probably Debian based, as a VPN server, because that's something I want to do. And these will all be command line, no GUIs on these. I am going to get a hold of a copy of Server 2019 Standard and run that in a VM. I intend to run a Windows 10 Pro VM that will be my Plex server, a virtualized Plex server, and maybe doing some FreeNAS stuff as well on this server. And I've calculated it out. I should have enough resources to do all that.
What are you going to run it on?
That is the question. It'll be Intel based.
Okay.
Not the world's most awesome Intel processor here, Zach. But I will be running the Intel Xeon E5 2648L.
One or two?
I will be running a single one.
I see.
So, total cost for that processor? Any guesses, Zach?
That processor probably $20.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, pretty darn close. $17.43.
Yeah, those CPUs are very inexpensive.
It is an 8-core, 16-thread, I believe, processor. The clock speed
2640 what?
2648L.
I would have guessed a 6, but all right. It is 8 cores.
Yep, 8-core processor. The clock speeds are pretty slow. There's another processor, another Xeon processor that I could have gone with, but I'm going to start with this. I can always upgrade down the line. I don't remember what the other Intel or the other Xeon processor was that I could use with my motherboard. It's LGA 2011. But the more expensive one tends to go for about $25, a little bit higher clock speeds. Still 8 cores, 16 threads, I believe. But anyway, this is just to get started with, basically. So that's the processor. The motherboard is going to be a Mechanist X79, X79G motherboard. This is the part that is going to take for freaking ever to get here because it's coming from China. In retrospect, I probably actually could have gone with a different board now that I'm thinking about it.
So are you just building like a desktop style form factor kind of deal?
This is going to go in a Rosewill RSV 2700 case. So let me show you this here. It is a 2U case. Here, let's pull this up here. Images here. So here's the case right here, Zach.
Is that like a rack?
It is. It is rack mountable.
Okay, neato.
Let's see. I think this is another one right here. Oh, that's an even worse picture. But here we go. Yeah, here you go, Zach. That's a pretty good picture. So it is.
Okay.
Yep, it is a 2U rack mountable server case. I don't have a rack, but the theory is that if I ever did down the line, I could throw in a rack, and I could buy a rack down the line too if I wanted to.
Oh yeah, you can shove those anywhere.
Exactly. But it's a server. I want to put it in a rack, or I want to put it in a rack case.
So what is that motherboard like? What is its design purpose? You know, like what market was that meant for? Kind of.
I don't actually know.
Is it like a secondhand server motherboard, or is it like a workstation motherboard, or what?
I believe this is a server motherboard here.
I guess that makes sense because I wouldn't expect to see a quote-unquote low power, low wattage CPU in a desktop, like a workstation.
See if I can find a good picture of this thing. Oh, here we go. So there's your socket. This is micro ATX. And it actually follows.
Oh, yeah. So that's definitely not a server board then.
Maybe not, but it supports that CPU.
Mm-hmm. Never heard of that brand.
I know. Anyway, so I saw a build guide of some guy on YouTube that built 3 of these for about $1,000. I didn't need 3 of them. It would have been cool, but I'm going to start with 1, and then down the line we may expand. Anyway, so we'll run 32 gigs of DDR3 ECC memory on this. So plenty of memory. One of the things about this board is that it offers an M.2 slot on it.
Wow.
Now that I think
2011.
about it, yeah, now that I think about it, well, Socket 2011. LG 2011.
I know.
Now that I think about it, though, I probably could have gotten away with not using this motherboard. I already bought it, and I suppose I could cancel my order and pick up something else similar to this. Which I might actually do, because now that I think about it, I don't actually need the M.2 slot on the motherboard, because I intend to run VMware's ESXi as my hypervisor. And ESXi runs off of a flash drive. So,
yeah, I guess that works.
I won't actually need the M.2 slot on here. We'll go mechanical storage just because it's cheap. I'm thinking, I haven't quite decided on what I'm going to do. I'm thinking 4 terabytes total, because that should be more than enough space for what I want to do with this for right now. Yeah, I'm not quite sure what else, but anyway. So I may cancel my order and purchase a motherboard similar to this, actually from a US seller, because it'll come much quicker that way. So anyway, but yeah, let's see, what else do I have in the build here? So that's the motherboard that I picked so far. Regardless, I'm going to go something like that because the Rosewell case will only support a micro ATX board. I'm not fitting a full ATX motherboard into that thing. So yeah, so we're going to go with 8 gig DIMMs. Yep, DDR3 ECC memory, 1866 megahertz. So, you know, not super fast memory, but it'll get the job done.
No, that kind of stuff is slow as balls. But you know what? It's also like $2 a gigabyte, so who cares?
For 32 gigs, no, it wasn't quite that cheap. For the cheapest I could find for a 32 gig kit is like almost $90.
What? What?
It's ECC crazy? Memory.
Yeah, which is, call me crazy, but at least in my experience, is typically cheaper because there's more of it for sale.
Well, if you can, anyway.
Yes, I can find some for that cheap, I bet.
If you find it for that cheap, I will cancel my order and rebuy it.
Does it have to be 1866?
If you can find something faster?
No, I mean, it's slower.
Oh.
You care about the speed is what I'm saying.
You know, I don't know how that translates to VMs.
My guess would be not at all. Really.
Yeah.
Unless you're running applications within the VMs that require that, but...
Well, Plex will be running.
Yeah, but does Plex demand that you have...
Actually, you know what?
Fast memory?
Plex is actually probably pretty lightweight because you can run it on a NAS solution.
Plex probably doesn't care
what
kind of memory it gets.
Yeah, again, you can run it on a NAS solution.
Yeah, okay. Some of those like lots of memory. I think.
Anyway, yeah, I need a large capacity of memory though for the VMs.
Of course.
I'm not quite so much sure about the speed. Look, honestly, when it comes to understanding the speed of memory and things like that, like I've been told, you know, higher clock speed, faster clock speed is better, but I don't actually understand quite why that is. because I'm just not a hardware geek. Maybe you can explain that to me?
Well, it's not actually the whole story, because
right, just like clock speed on CPUs.
Well,
your clock
speed matters, but so does your latency, right? Like, so imagine clock speed would be like how fast you're going, and then latency would be more like how many clocks does it take to get something done, right? So if you could be going like 50 million gigahertz, but if it takes you an astronomically long number of cycles to actually do any work, it doesn't matter how fast you're going then.
Sure. Well, we can look at this a little bit later after the show.
As far as why that is the case, I'm not knowledgeable enough to answer your question.
We can look at that a little bit later after the show and see what we can maybe come up with. If I did want to put an M.2 SSD in there, I would probably go with something pretty small. I can get a Sunbow 32 gigabyte M.2 SSD for like $20. So not horrible. I am buying a graphics card for this thing. Nothing fancy. I will be going with an ATI Radeon HD 2400 XT. It cost me...
Is that for Plex?
No. That is just so I can see what is happening in the hypervisor. If I connect a monitor and keyboard and stuff to it.
Is that actually required?
It is not required. I can run it headless. But I want to be able to see it if I need to.
But is it even required to connect anything to it? Does the motherboard have an onboard graphics solution? A lot of them have very low power onboard.
There's no provisions for graphics on the motherboard. And here's the thing: this graphics card that I'm going with is only $6.
Okay.
It's literally to just display an output is all.
Yeah, so, that'll do.
I'm picking up a Supermicro SNK P0048PS heatsink for like $12. It's low profile enough that it'll fit in there. So we're good there. The power supply will be
rather expensive right now.
Huh?
Power supplies are a little expensive right now.
We're not going to do anything fancy. We're going for a PowerMan 350 watt PSU. These are
PowerMan. Sounds like a reputable brand.
These are like the ones that you find in all of your OEM systems.
Well, I'm sure it's amazingly high quality then.
You know what though? They are, for the most part, pretty reliable. I still have the power supply from the Dell 2350 that we used to have. The one that we had actually tried to install Windows 10 on. Okay. That thing, we bought that computer in like 2000 something. Like early 2000s. It's still fine. It has not blown up yet.
Well, that's good.
So, anyway. Yep. And then I need some extension cables because the actual cables on the motherboard and stuff like that are a little too short to actually reach and things like that. No, I need a Molex adapter too, because there's only one Molex adapter or one Molex connector on that power supply, I believe. So anyway, but yeah, so that is my little home server build. Like I said, I haven't quite decided what I'm going to do for storage yet in it. And I looked at a couple other solutions too in terms of a hypervisor. I thought about what was it? Actually, FreeNAS, I believe you actually can run virtual machines inside of. I think you can use it as a hypervisor, but I'm not going to do that. I thought about Umraid, but the problem with Umraid is well, there's pros and cons. So Umraid is going to need a parity disk. And the problem with that is that I only have a limited number of drive bays in the system, and so I don't necessarily want to lose space for parity. And I know that, like, there's probably going to be somebody out there screaming, like, well, parity's good! Like, you know, one of your hard drives dies, you're still fine. I get it. like, I I don't know. I guess I'm living dangerously here with this one. If a drive
Personally,
dies,
I would say that if you want something free, I would probably look into XCP-NG or Proxmox.
or ESXi.
That's not free though; you have to pay for it.
No. If you want more professional system, like
You have to pay for it if you have like more than 16 cores or whatever. I don't know. It's stupid.
I don't know about that. There is a way to get ESXi for free.
Yeah, there's a way to get anything digital for free. It's called Pirate It.
No, not Pirate It. Actually, from VMware, you can get a key to run it in a specific mode. You don't get like monitoring or other things like that, which these are all things that I don't necessarily care about because I'm only going to be running one system. So for my needs, I can actually get a legitimate key for ESXi for free from VMware to run on it.
Well, as long as the restrictions don't bother you, then sure, whatever works.
Exactly. I don't think they will. And so it's probably a good thing to learn ESXi, and based off of everything that I've kind of seen, it seems to be the most logical solution for running VMs in. And, you know, using it as a hypervisor, basically. So, anyway, yeah, so that's kind of the big news. I had the funny thing is I have been thinking about building a virtualization server for a while now. And I was considering using something like Threadripper or other things like that. Which down the line maybe. But I think as a starting VM or starting virtualization server, I think that this is going to be fine for me.
You want bang for your buck and cores and memory? Go buy a used server.
The problem with that is, though, is that used servers are servers in general are extremely loud.
You have a basement.
That is true, and the other problem with them is, though, is the power draw off of them.
I mean, your desktop probably doesn't use much less.
It probably does, honestly. Once you start getting some of those fans in there that are running all the time, like, yeah. So down the line, possibly. But for right now, as just a starting virtualization server, just something to start screwing around with, this is what I've decided to do for now. So
it'll be cool either way.
Yeah, exactly. So my justification for doing this project and spending the money on it is I can get rid of some of the other desktops that are in the house. Because they won't be needed anymore. They'll be virtualized.
Honestly, just do it because it's cool.
Well, yeah. But I needed an excuse to actually say, hey, here's why I'm spending the money on it. Not for myself, but for other people in the house. Who will look at me and be like, why are you spending money on this? It's like, well, I'm spending money on it because it's going to allow me to clean up some of the space in the house here. So anyway, I gotta fix the power settings on this at some point. But yeah. Oh, I'll tell you a fun story. So another thing that what is going on with this thing? This is the second time today that this little system next to me here, this is my little ThinkPad that I have, has blue screened on me.
It's rough.
Yeah, I'm not quite sure what's going on with that. Did you ever see that video of it's Windows 98, I believe. They're doing like a keynote demo or something like that, and they go to run a demo and it blue screens on them. You've seen that video before, haven't you?
Oh yeah.
And the best part is that Bill Gates is in the background and he's like, that must be why we're not shipping Windows 98 yet. Well, actually, before that, the guy is like, ooh. And then he just doesn't say anything for a couple seconds. And he's like, moving right along. Like,
Yeah.
nothing happened. So, anyway. I'm gonna pull up the live dashboard here real quick on this system, and oh goodness gracious. What? Oh, hold on. I have so many different like YouTube accounts and stuff like that like inevitably I end up picking the wrong one there, and then I wonder why it is asking me a bunch of questions when I'm trying to live stream here. Okay. Anyway. Okay. So that's all good there. But yeah. Okay. So yeah, little virtualization server. We'll get that up and running here, hopefully soonish. I'm excited about this. It's a new fun kind of project and toy to play around with. And so, yeah. No, okay, so next story, okay? Because I don't really have any great, super great topics this week, so we're just going to kind of BS this week. So, have I told you that I've started playing with the fire alarm panel at the church? This is my new project that I've been working on.
No, don't think you have.
So, yep. So this is my newest project that I've been working on, is learning more about the fire alarm system at the church, because as far as I know, nobody really knows how to run it. And we're doing all the IT stuff, and I figured it's not necessarily IT, but like that's kind of our realm, so why the heck not, right? So a couple months ago, I went down to the church and I called our monitoring company. If there's one thing you should know about working on fire alarm systems, one, it's have the permission to do it first. And in my case, I do. And then second is, before you actually start screwing around with stuff, call the monitoring company and tell them that you're going to be messing with it and ask them to put you in test mode.
So let me guess, you triggered it.
No, nope. I knew this. I knew that I needed to call the alarm company. Okay. So we have not had any false, false positives, I guess, or anything like that, or we haven't had any mishaps. Every time that we've worked with it, I've called the fire alarm company to tell them, hey, we're going to be doing some testing. Please take us offline. So please do that. That's the correct way to do that. And then that way you can mess with the system. You can pull the alarms as much as you want. Everything's going to be good. You're not going to have any issues at all. So, anyway, so we're all familiar with this, right, Zach?
Sure.
Okay, so this is a call station right here.
Looks like something to me that says there's a fire.
This is a call station. We've seen these all over the place in buildings before. And this is one of those. You push it in and you pull it down. And when you do that, this happens. So this is a call station that's been activated. And there's actually a piece on the plastic that is painted that says activated. Can you see that?
Yeah.
So this signifies that it's activated. There's also an LED light in there that stays solidly lit inside. So this is an activated pull station now, or call station. I think you can use either term. So yeah. Anyway, so I did this like a day after New Year's, right? Was when I was testing this out. And let me just tell you, at least for myself, I don't know about you, but pulling a fire alarm has always kind of been one of those bucket list items for me.
Oh, yes. Oh, I agree. Be awesome.
Let me tell you this real quick, though, okay? So, I have it in test mode. I know I can pull the fire alarm. No problem. Not going to have any issues. Not going to get in trouble. Fire department's not going to show up. Pull the alarm down. The alarm starts going off, and I'm like, okay, well, that was kind of cool.
Yeah.
It was very anticlimactic. It was just like, you know, like you build it up in your mind like all this time.
Like, I mean, wow, I'm shocked. It does what it says it will do. Really?
Yeah.
Incredible.
Exactly. And I was like, wow, okay.
I don't know what I expected.
Right, yeah, like you kind of hype it up in your mind, but then you pull it and you're like, oh okay. So, anyway. So what I was actually very surprised is our fire alarm system is actually it's pretty quiet. It's loud enough for you to actually know that it's been activated. Like you hear it, but it's not overly obnoxiously loud. Like I don't know if you remember being like a kid in school when they did fire drills and like it just being obnoxiously loud.
They're so loud.
Yeah, like ours is actually not that bad. So at least where I was standing, it wasn't that bad. In other places of the church, it hasn't been that bad. So when they built our system, I believe they put in more strobes than they actually put in horns. Actually they did. And so a lot of our strobes look like strobes and a horn together, but they're actually fake.
Okay.
So they're literally just a strobe light, and then the top portion looks like it's supposed to have a horn in it, but if you actually look, it's just molded plastic that's not actually open or anything like that. There's not a horn in there. So all the classrooms in the basement, they just have strobes in them. None of them have a horn in them. So it's not going to be super loud in any of the classrooms or anything like that. The only places that have horns are going to be open spaces. Or as far as I can tell. So, anyway. Oh! And then, of course, now that you've pulled the fire alarm, right? Now that you pulled the call station, you have to reset it, right? If you've noticed, there's a key slot in here.
Ah.
This is how you reset them. So I have a key that opens them up.
Now you know.
You open the panel and you close it. And it will be reset. A couple things in here. Let me zoom in. Maybe. Can I... Oh, maybe I'm zoomed in as much as I can. So this stuff up here, these white things, these look important, and they sort of kind of are, but basically they're just for, they're for identifying this particular device in the fire alarm system, basically. So each system has an address. So the address of this particular module or this device in the fire alarm panel is 2. And then we have other call stations. There's a pole station that's 1, pole station that's 2, this one right here, another pole station is 3. And then all the horns and strobes have a number as well. And so the theory is that if you know what the addresses are of these, you can actually look at the control panel and it will show the module number. So you can see, oh, okay, pole station with the address 2 has been pulled, and that refers to this particular pole station here. So you know which one you need to go reset. Oh, here's the best part. So they've got the, so here's the actual, like, outside pull lever, right, Zach?
Yep.
But literally all that actually activates it is this little thing right here. This little black
Oh, yeah,
switch.
that doesn't surprise me at all.
That's it. If it's up, it's in normal mode. If it's down, it's been activated. So, anyway. Okay. So, here's where the fun begins, right? So I noticed this the other day. What the installers had done was they had also put in basically friendly names for all of these. And so if you look at the panel, it says north entry, south entry, right? Yeah, there's a problem. Any guesses as to what the problem was, Zach?
I don't know. Tell me.
Somebody does not know their north from their south.
Get a compass app on your phone? I don't know.
Because the north one is labeled south and the south one is labeled north. So I got to go in and figure out how to rename those later. Anyway, so yeah. So knowing this, we decided to do something called a walk test. And what a walk test is you put the fire alarm panel in a special mode, and then what you can do is you can go around and pull call stations. You can use like a can of smoke to spray into the detectors, or the smoke detectors basically, and activate them. And it's basically a way of testing the entire system with one person. And so what happens is you activate whatever it is you want, you go back to the alarm panel, it keeps log of them, and then you can see whether or not, that stuff is working. So I was there one night, and we had somebody else with us, so anyway, I had it in test mode, and I started pulling, actually, I had this other guy with me too, and when you put it in a walk test, you can do a silent walk test, or you can do an audible walk test. Now, I didn't really want to make any noise. I didn't want to set the alarms off. So I opted for a silent walk test, right? So I walk up to one of the call stations. He's with me. I pull it. And the best part was he was like, oh, well, that was anticlimactic. Because I just pulled it down and like the alarm didn't actually go off because I had it in silent mode. So anyway, I was like, you want to pull one? He's like, yeah, of course I want to pull one. So I was like, okay, here's what we're going to do. We got to go around the church. We got to find all the call station. We got to pull all of them. So we went ahead and did that, right? So here's the thing. When you're done doing anything, whether it's doing a drill, pulling a call station, you have to reset the system. Okay?
Yeah.
So, anyway, we get them all pulled. We go back to the alarm panel. I'm going through. I'm checking. I'm like, yep, it looks like everything's here. Okay. So, in the control panel too, depending on where you are in terms of menus, if you back out far enough, it will just reset the system automatically on you. And so anyway, so it was starting to reset, and I was like, yeah, okay, fine. So wait a couple seconds, and then all the alarms go off, and I'm like, the frick is going on? Yeah, guess what we have forgotten to do.
Never touched one of these. I don't know.
We forgot to reset all the call stations. So we reset the system, right? And then because all the call stations were still activated, after it finished resetting, it was like, oh, hey, somebody's pulled the alarm, and it set the alarm off.
I see.
This is why you put it in test mode. So anyway, so I was like, oh, yeah. So hit the silence button, made everything shut up. And I was like, okay, we need to go back and reset all the call stations. So anyway. And then we had an interesting issue where one of the telephone lines just decided it didn't want to, like, connect. It was, like, missing temporarily for a couple minutes. And the alarm panel was angry at us. And I didn't know what happened. I was like, oh crap, what did I break? And it eventually ended up sorting itself out. But anyway, yeah. So, and it's been fine ever since. So I don't know in the loop of us resetting it and stuff like that, if we just have reset it enough to the point where it just couldn't detect one of the phone lines. And then they periodically check themselves. So as soon as it went through its self-test and checked the phone lines, it was like, oh, okay, I'm happy now. So I'm not quite sure exactly what happened with that, but yeah. So there you go. the the adventures of the fire alarm panel. So, but yeah, so that's the next thing that I'm getting myself into, basically. Here. Oh, I can delete that real quick. But anyway, okay. Let's actually look at maybe one or two tech topics real quick this week. This is kind of funny here, Zach. Intel has downplayed Apple's M1 chip with carefully crafted benchmarks.
Of course, Intel are great at that.
Nearly 3 months after the launch of Apple's rave-reviewed M1 Max, Intel has fired back, but there are some asterisks involved. So, in a slideshow shared by PC World this week, Intel highlighted what PC World describes as carefully crafted benchmarks in an attempt to prove that laptops with the latest 11th generation core processor are superior to those with Apple's custom-designed M1 chip. Well, yeah, when you cherry-pick things, of course.
Well, first of all, you could cherry-pick things the other way, too. And second of all, it's kind of not really reasonable to try and compare them directly anyway, is it?
You know what? You're probably right. They're different architectures. Like, entirely. So, here's an example. Intel said that exporting a PowerPoint presentation as a PDF file is up to 2.3 times faster on a Windows laptop equipped with an 11th generation Core i7 processor and 16 gigs of RAM compared to completing the same task on a 13-inch MacBook Pro with the M1 chip and 16 gigabytes of RAM, with Intel noting that PowerPoint ran natively on both systems.
Does it even matter?
No, but let me ask you something. Like, in the real world...
It's probably like 2 seconds versus 3.
That, and in the real world, how many times have you exported your slideshow slides as a PDF?
0?
It's like, if we're gonna like, here's the thing about benchmarks, right? People run like the Heaven benchmark and like Cinebench and things like that, right? And these are like, okay, fine, but you know, if I'm a consumer, I would probably rather actually see real world performance, you know? I'm a creative, creative user, right? How fast are things exporting out of a Blender? How fast can I encode a project from Premiere Pro? Like, those are the kinds of things, those are the kind of benchmarks I want to see.
Right, yeah.
Not how freaking fast a computer can export PowerPoint slides as PDFs. I don't give diddly crap about those.
Of course, yeah.
Anyway, Intel also indicated that Tapis Labs, AI-based photo enlargement software, Gigapixel AI, performed up to 6 times faster on the Core i7 system compared to the M1 MacBook Pro. In this case, PC World said the results are pretty real, noting that Tapis Labs apps are designed to take advantage of the hardware acceleration inside of Intel's processors. Okay, that's fine, but yeah, again, cherry picking, stuff that's gonna, like, this is not uncommon. Like, anytime you see a slide, of course they have cherry picked the results.
They just wouldn't show it to you if it was bad.
Right, exactly. Intel also conducted a real-world battery life test and found that both the M1 MacBook
That sounds like
Air,
a bad fight to pick.
Right?
ARM CPU.
Found that the both the M1 MacBook Air and the Acer Swift 5 with an 11th generation Core i7 processor achieved virtually identical 10-hour battery life when streaming Netflix with additional tabs open.
Okay, I guess.
Okay, whoop-de-frickin' ding-dong-do. What do you want, a cookie? Intel said both notebooks were set to 250 nit display brightness, with the MacBook Air running Safari and the Acer Swift 5 running Chrome for the test. Okay. It's worth noting that Intel switched from the MacBook Pro for their performance benchmarks to the MacBook Air for the battery life test, and Intel used a different Core i7 processor SKU for each of these tests as well. Okay. Let's see. So an Apple columnist referred to Intel's benchmarks as M1 unfriendly in commentary shared on his website, Six Colors. Inconsistent test platform, shifting arguments, omitted data, and the not so faint whiff of desperation, wrote Snell. Today's M1 processor is a low-end chip for low-end systems, so Intel only has a small window to compare itself favorably to these systems before a higher-end Apple Silicon Macs ship and make its job that much harder. Yeah, that and the fact that, Apple has achieved this on an ARM processor, and yet Intel is still here struggling to get to 7 nanometer. Just saying.
It's true.
Seems like a bad fight to pick right now. Intel should just kind of leave things alone. Worry about your own problems. But no. Oh, goodness gracious. Is it sad when an ARM processor has basically the same performance as a Core i7 processor here from Intel? Again, low-end chip,
well,
high-end chip.
I don't think it does.
Maybe not in some areas, but...
Well, but again, the kinds of applications where you would probably prefer an i7 over a M1 are things that you would never use a MacBook for.
Enlighten me, actually. What are you thinking? Gaming?
I'm surprised Intel didn't say gaming. Probably because you can't really play a whole lot on a MacBook.
That's true.
But I'm surprised they didn't say it anyway.
But besides gaming, like what other areas? Because
that was what I was getting at. I don't know.
Okay.
I'm sure there are other things, but that's the only one that comes to mind for me.
Remember that Macs are kind of aimed at the creative mind. That's Apple's niche.
Perhaps heavily single-threaded applications, maybe? I don't know.
But yeah, remember that Apple is the system for creators.
Yeah, the overpriced thing for creators.
Yeah. Creator. Anyway.
I need this Mac computer because I edit videos.
Macs, I think, actually have been proven to tend to make you more creative.
What? By making you feel all hip and cool? I don't know.
Well, I mean, they have a lot of good built-in tools on Mac.
Make you more creative.
I don't know if that's true, but
makes no sense.
Oh. Anyway, another company that doesn't make sense is
Microsoft?
Microsoft.
Okay, what did they do?
Well, the iCloud for Windows version that let you sync Apple passwords is no longer available, Zach. Honestly, there wasn't that great of like Microsoft news this week. Apple's rocky rollout of iCloud password sync on Windows has hit another bump. You can no longer download the version of the app that allowed syncing passwords from your Apple devices with your Chrome web browser on a Windows PC. Version 12 of Apple's iCloud for Windows app, released last week with supposed support for the feature. Let's see. But the Chrome extension to... What? This doesn't make sense. Version 12 of Apple's iCloud for Windows app, released last week with supposed support for the feature. But the Chrome extension to make it work wasn't available until 2 days ago. Okay. Now version 12 is gone from the Windows Store, with version 11.6 taking its place. Okay. Weirdly, nice. The changelog on the Windows Store still says that the password syncing functionality is present. However, upon downloading, the app shows the version as 11.6 in the top right. The Verge has verified for themselves, and there's no password syncing option. Okay, cool. Who cares? Like, personally, I don't use... let's see. Yeah. Personally, I don't use iCloud for backup. I don't use OneDrive for backup, or like cloud storage space. I do have cloud storage options available to me. I just prefer our own solution called Cloud Blue. Which is actually pretty dope. So Cloud Blue is based on the Nextcloud platform. And so I have a little sync client on my computer, and I just drop things into the folder, and it syncs just like just like Dropbox would, which is pretty cool. Now, this solution's not free at this moment because I pay for the hosting of it, but I only spend about $10 a month. So, and I have full creative control over, like, all my stuff, basically. So, you know, I don't have to worry about what creepy company is doing, you know, what with my data and things like that. So, you know, that's all good.
It's a plus.
Oh, that's actually kind of cool. I didn't know I could do that. I just learned something new about OBS. So,
congrats.
You ever do that where you're hitting buttons and you all of a sudden realize that it does something in an application that you never knew it did before?
I have done that.
So, apparently hitting F11 in OBS will make it full screen. So,
wait, that's a universal thing, no?
Not in every program. It works in web browsers that way.
No, but it's like a Windows thing.
F11?
Yeah.
No, I don't think so.
I think it is.
Oh, maybe it is. Command prompt works that way. I remember the old one. Alt Enter. At least in the command prompt.
That works too.
You remember using that in old games?
Yep.
Let me see what happens if I open Putty real quick here. Okay, yeah, see, Putty has no idea what to do with F11. I doubt it knows what to do with Alt-Enter. Nope, it doesn't. So, okay. Yeah, not every application, but maybe some. Anyway, okay, fine. Anything else good this week?
If there is, make it quick, because I really got to go to the bathroom.
Let's see. Apple's got a rumored VR headset that could cost $3,000.
That sounds just like them.
Featuring 8K displays and over a dozen cameras.
What's going to run it? No one knows.
Your new Mac Pro.
Well, I hope they were designing a GPU to go with that M1 or whatever.
Let's see. Use from a variety of Apple devices, including swappable Apple Watch style headbands and a HomePod. Let's see. The actual hardware just said to be both VR and mixed reality, thanks to a dozen cameras for tracking a movement. With LiDAR sensors, let's see. It's going to feature dual 8K displays with eye tracking technology. They will not be running the 8K displays at full resolution the entire time. Instead, the device will use eye tracking technology to determine where users are looking and then rendering peripheral areas in lower resolution to improve performance. Yeah, I'm not actually quite. Yeah, you're right. I'm not quite sure what's going to run those. So, anyway. Yeah. Cool. Yeah, that's really all I got for this week. So, anyway. So yeah, anyway. Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed it, thumbs up. If you didn't, thumbs down. Get subscribed if you haven't done that already. And we may or may not see you next week. To be determined. Anyway, till next time. Bye.